Hi everyone, and welcome to the channel. It's been a while since I posted a video. Things have been a little bit busy at work, and I've been exploring new AI tools to showcase. In addition, I've been working on a new series for the channel. Today, we are launching the Conversation series, where I have interviews with people engaged in the AI space. This includes entrepreneurs, developers, policymakers, lawyers, economists. These experts will join us and talk about AI in a non-technical sense to give you another perspective on the developments in this field. Today, I will be joined by Josh Levine, co-founder and CEO of Thorian AI, a company designed to help organizations manipulate and analyze data, particularly when it comes to reporting purposes. Their tools are accessible and can be used by non-technical folks. Josh and I will discuss AI from the perspective of an entrepreneur and where he sees this industry going. Also, this interview was recorded using Descript AI, a tool that I will feature in a future video. It is a tool that allows you to record video or audio with multiple participants who are not in the same location, and then use AI to do an edit of that material. The interview that you will see today was primarily edited with Descript AI. I left it as intact as I could. I did make a few tweaks, but I wanted to use this as an opportunity to showcase to you how well this tool can actually edit your content after it is recorded. As always, let me know what you think about the video and this interview, and let me know what you think about the idea of including these type of conversations with experts from a non-technical perspective. All right, without further ado, let's jump to the conversation with Josh Levine. Josh, thank you so much for joining us today and talking to us a little bit about AI. It's always great to have entrepreneurs on the channel, and this is our first conversations piece. So thank you for helping me kick this off.
Awesome. I'm really excited to be here. It's my honor to be the first guest.
Well, let me kick it off. Here's our first question. Tell us a little bit more about Thorian AI. What do you do, and how did this company come about?
Yeah, so Thorian AI really specializes in a specific kind of problem structure. So when we think about a lot of startups, we often think about an ICP, an initial customer profile. For us, we sort of have an initial problem profile, and that problem looks like this. There's sort of three pillars. Pillar one is a set of data. That data could be messy, it could be in different formats, it could be stored across a number of different places. Oftentimes it is all of those things. So we have a set of data. In the middle, we have a set of rules that govern how that data is used. So those rules may come from a variety of places. They could be a set of internal rules, how your company wants to use data, or it could be external public policy style rules. So rules from a government, rules from a regulator, that kind of a thing. And then in the third pillar, it's a specified output. So a document, a spreadsheet, a PDF, some form of output that really reflects passing a specific point of data from that big data store through the filter of those rules and into a specified output. And if the problem set looks like that shape, it fits that arc of that problem, Thorian can solve it. So we've done a lot of our work in government adjacent spaces. So we do regulatory work for SBICs. We do election campaign finance reporting automation. So if you're a candidate or you're a consultant working on a campaign, we can automate all of your expense and contribution information. Take it in. If it's a receipt or a photograph of an invoice that you've taken on your phone, we can input that plus spreadsheet information or other email information and output it in the exact format that you need to file that data perfectly. We've done work with ERP automation for medium-sized and small businesses, nonprofits reporting to grantee organizations or to the government. But every single thing is fitting that shape. And that unique sort of initial problem profile is, I think, a unique construction that is facilitated by AI. You don't need to be necessarily constrained to a specific customer. If you can get a model and a process and a way of treating data, you can do a lot of very niche and granular type of tasks. You can complete a lot of those tasks very, very accurately. And that's what we do at Thorian.
Do your customers need a lot of knowledge? Do they need to actually know the coding stuff? Do they need to know a lot about the infrastructure? Or where does Thorian kind of fit in that ecosystem?
So, when we think about AI, there are three basic layers that you could attack AI from. There's the baseline infrastructure layer, which you can think of that as NVIDIA, the chips and the energy that power the models that make AI happen. Then the second layer is the intelligence layer. That intelligence layer consists of the models themselves. So you can see that as well, that's ChatGPT, that's Google Gemini, that's Claude. And that is the technology layer that is basically powering all of the things that we're using as consumers. Then there's the top layer, the application layer. The application layer basically sits there and helps individual users access AI at a variety of different levels. So you can have application layer software for coders, so something like Codex from OpenAI or Cursor, or you can even have AI applications that are more focused on non-technical people or business people. Thorian sits in that space. We are an application layer company focused on working with executives and people within organizations that may not necessarily have a lot of coding skill. And what that means is they're actually experiencing AI very much like they might experience a traditional piece of software. Our user interface is relatively simple. People define their task, they upload their data, and then they get an output. So it's designed to take a lot of the prompting magic out of using AI and really use a lot of the power of AI without having to require a lot of additional skills.
Thank you for that explanation. I think you created a really good context for us now to think about AI. I think the AI stack is a useful way of thinking about these tools. So, what advice would you give to organizations that are thinking about applying AI? They're looking for AI powered tools that can help their organizations, and they're just starting their journey. They're trying to figure out, where do I find them? How do I identify the tools that are fit for purpose? How do I know which ones to trust? Because this market seems to be flooded right now with so many organizations, so many companies that are pitching all these tools. And we know that the success rate of these is actually not high, right? This is the case for all entrepreneurship.
That's a great question. And it comes back to something you even said as you were phrasing the question. We're all really early in this AI journey. AI is a transformational technology that is in its earliest phases. And what that means is that things are changing really, really fast. In this kind of a situation, the market's going to reward people who experiment with a lot of different tools and find the tools that work best for them. So I always encourage people to try a lot of stuff out, to think very specifically about what they're trying to get out of AI, and then experiment with a number of tools. So the framework of those experiments often can take a specific shape. The types of experiments that tend to work well are: one, figure out exactly what you're trying to get out of AI. Why are you using AI? Is it to save time? Is it to increase computing power on a specific task? Is it to create a specific output that is a pain? Like for us, we're creating a specific output that is a pain for people to create. So from that perspective, that allows you to hone in on very specific tools that are focused on an output rather than very general purpose tools. So there's that framing. And then the second is, in what context are you using AI in your workplace or in your organization? So I've visited a number of organizations, particularly in the nonprofit and the government space, where they say, we're not going to use AI, that's forbidden. And then the individual employees will come to me and say, we're using the free version of ChatGPT or the free version of Gemini, and it's really helpful for our internal work. Now, that might be all well and good, but if you're using these free versions, that is the least secure way to implement AI across your organization. So my message to leaders is typically let people experiment safely. So create this kind of a sandbox where you say, we're all going to have this paid version of an LLM. We're all going to adhere to these best practices from a security standpoint. And then the best ideas are going to win, and allow for and reward people experimenting with AI, and have people who are a little bit more comfortable experimenting with technology teach the people who are less comfortable with it. But you're not necessarily creating winners and losers off the bat. You're allowing AI to percolate within your own organization, and that can often help generate and identify more mature and more specific use cases that are more likely to be successful.
I think that's a really good points. I think experimentation is key at this point because, as you mentioned, right, we're all still learning about this technology. It's been what, 2 or 3 years that this has been popularly available, at least in the sense of LLMs, right? I know we've had AI technology for a while longer, but not in these type of applications, and certainly not in this type of breadth across organizations and sectors. So, I think that's a very good point, and I hope that the folks watching the channel will be willing to experiment and try out new things. All right, and the last question I have for you is about entrepreneurship in this space. Now, I know this isn't your first AI-powered company, so you've done this before. You walked this path for a while now, and I hear a lot from not just from my students, but from colleagues and peers. I have an idea for a company. I think AI could help, and in many cases, they're right. But then they not quite sure how do they start on this journey. So what advice would you give to somebody who's thinking about doing something like you are, right? Thinking about, I have an idea, I want to pursue this, and this thing I want to pursue, this is an AI powered solution to a problem.
Yeah, that's a great question and an important one for entrepreneurs everywhere. And I think my answer is going to feel a little old fashioned in the sense that a lot of the fundamentals of starting a business apply now more than ever, in the sense of understand who your customers are or what problem you want to be able to solve, and understand why you're using AI to solve that problem. And what that means is having a lot of conversations with people. Customer interviews are the bread and butter for every entrepreneur, and they are especially important in this current cycle. So making sure you understand, hey, I have a particular problem structure that I want to play around with, like we're doing at Thorian, or I have a specific customer that I want to solve. Go and talk to people with that problem. Figure out what they need, not just how their organization works or where AI might fit or how you can pitch a general purpose AI solution encoded in the industry specific language. Instead, say, what do these people need? And then pitch them something very specific. Get with them on their side of the table and co build a solution together. That tends to be the stickiest way for me to get in front of customers. And one way that I check and see if this is working is I recruit people onto customer advisory boards for every niche purpose that I work on. So I'm doing a lot of work in campaign finance. I have a customer advisory board that exists of people from political parties, people who are campaign consultants, people who are accountants that are doing this work manually right now, and even lawyers that are working within this space. This group of people can help keep me on track, make introductions for me, and help me do this groundswell, bottom up approach to finding customers. We're far enough along in the AI hype cycle that just having AI powered X or AI for Y isn't going to be enough to get VC funding. It isn't going to be enough to get a whole bunch of customers. People are already a little bit wary of that. Instead, saying, we have an ability to solve this problem. We think you have this problem, and actually going and solving it, that's way more powerful, whether or not you're using AI. And you mentioned earlier, I've been working in AI for a little while. We started implementing AI in my past company when we were still on GPT 2.5. And we got into that business because we thought, hey, AI could be useful for parsing a bunch of data in that business. And it was okay at it. And we face a lot of limitations. As AI has gotten better and as we've developed along with that technology stack, we can do more precise and more specific things at a much higher level. And that's really been the evolution we've seen with AI, but it's still the fundamentals of entrepreneurship in action.
Thank you so much for this advice, Josh. The link to Thorian AI is available in the video description. I'll also post a link to Josh's LinkedIn. If anybody's interested in connecting and following the work that he does, you can find that below. Josh, thank you so much again for joining us, and I hope you join us again in the future for another AI talk.
Of course. Thanks, Mihat. I appreciate you having me.